Welcome back, everyone, to the Wisdom of Laozi.
Great to be back. Today, we're picking up on something really critical from our last deep dive on chapter 24 of the Tao Te Ching.
That's right. Lao Tzu's warning about trying too hard, that whole idea of misplaced effort, straining to look better, rushing ahead, and how it actually makes you less stable.
Yeah, standing on tiptoe, taking huge strides, it just doesn't work. You wobble, you don't get as far.
And what's really striking is how that idea just scales up, doesn't it? It's not just about one person wobbling. Think about nations, big companies, maybe even our whole society.
Exactly. When that misplaced effort happens at scale, the consequences are, well, they're huge.
Yeah.
System-wide vulnerabilities, really. And we live in this time that just worships lightness and speed, often without really getting the mechanics underneath it all.
Oh, totally. Look at the business world. It's all agile, lean, rapid iteration, disruption. Those are the buzzwords, the things everyone chases.
And in our personal lives too, right? Asset-light living, the slash career where you're juggling 5 different things. It's all about shedding the burden.
Yeah, this idea that being heavy is bad, being still means you're falling behind, you're irrelevant, slow is the enemy.
But the irony, and it's a big one, is that this relentless chase for lightness, for speed, it hasn't really brought the promised freedom or agility for many. Instead, you see this deep underlying anxiety. Organizations are constantly pivoting, changing direction, sometimes losing sight of why they started in the first place.
Yeah.
And individuals. Burnout is through the roof. People feel empty, constantly switching identities, searching.
It's like that image you used before, like kites with the strings cut.
Exactly.
You think you're flying high, totally free, but really you're just being blown around by whatever wind comes along, no control. You feel flexible, but maybe you're just flailing. I definitely feel like that sometimes.
So what have we missed? What's the piece of maybe common sense we've forgotten?
It makes you think about a ship, doesn't it? Its stability doesn't come from those big, light sails, no matter how impressive they look.
Right. It comes from the ballast, the heavy stone hidden down below. Without that, the ship just capsizes. It's inevitable.
And that image, that forgotten common sense, leads us straight into chapter 26 of the Tao Te Ching. Lao Tzu just lays it out so powerfully. The heavy is the root of the light. The still is the lord of the restless.
It's such a paradoxical statement for our times, isn't it? We chase lightness, but he says it needs a root. We value restlessness, speed, but he says it needs a master, stillness.
Without that substance, that stillness inside, flexibility just becomes flimsy, frivolous. Agility turns into frantic, pointless motion.
You're just spinning your wheels, essentially. Moving fast, but going nowhere, or worse, heading for a crash because there's no anchor.
So this is our mission for this deep dive. How does Lao Tzu offer us steadiness in this incredibly lightweight era? And for you listening, we want you to think about this. What's the ballast stone in your life?
Yeah, what does it actually mean, that phrase, not lose sight of your baggage? What's in your baggage?
And what are the real risks, the deep dangers of acting lightly when you're in charge of something? Whether it's leading a team, running a country, or even just managing your own life and responsibilities.
Let's dive into chapter 26 and see if we can absorb some of that steadiness.
Okay, before we get into all the layers of meaning, let's just take a moment. Let the words themselves sink in. Here's chapter 26. The heavy is the root of the light. The still is the lord of the restless. Therefore, the sage, traveling all day, does not lose sight of his baggage. Though there are beautiful things to be seen, he remains unattached and calm. Why should the lord of 10,000 chariots act lightly in public? To be light is to lose one's root. To be restless is to lose one's control.
As you hear that, just picture maybe a giant sequoia tree, 1,000 years old.
Wow.
That massive crown, all those branches reaching up, they sway so lightly, so elegantly in the breeze. It looks effortless, composed.
Yeah, graceful almost.
But why? Why can it be so light, so composed, even when storms hit? Because underneath, hidden, is this vast, deep, incredibly heavy root system, gripping the earth. Unseen power.
That's a fantastic image. It really nails the core idea here. Lao Tzu's pointing to this fundamental law, governing stability, action, our inner world, our outer behavior.
And he starts with those 2 lines, like laws of physics almost. The heavy is the root of the light. Heaviness, substance, foundation. That's what allows lightness to even exist. The visible lightness comes from the unseen heaviness.
Like the sequoia's branches need the roots.
Precisely. And then the second law, the still is the lord of the restless. Stillness. Tranquility. It masters all the agitation, the movement, the change.
You mentioned a spinning top before.
Yeah, think about that. It dances, it whirls, seems so restless. but it only stays stable because its central axis is almost perfectly still right at the point of contact. That stillness is the Lord controlling the restless motion.
So this isn't just nature observation. Lao Tzu sees this as the key for wise action, how a wise person moves through the world.
Right. He says, therefore the sage, traveling all day, does not lose sight of his baggage.
Okay, let's talk about this baggage. It sounds a bit negative today, like something you want to get rid of, but clearly that's not what he means.
Not at all. Originally, this meant the heavy supply wagons for an army. Grain, equipment, literally life and death stuff. The lifeline.
So symbolically, it's the absolute core essentials, things you cannot afford to lose.
Exactly. Scholars have unpacked this over centuries. It could be basics like food and shelter, sure. But more deeply, our inner moral character, our stillness and substance, our whole body, mind, and spirit. It's our spiritual ballast, you could say.
And you mentioned something interesting about who this person is, not necessarily a sage.
Yeah, that's a key point. Some early texts, like the Mongdui Silks, use gentleman or noble person instead of sage. A sage can seem remote, detached, but a gentleman, someone traveling all day, dealing with practical things, that sounds more like an active leader, someone engaged in the world, which fits the rest of the chapter better, really.
So this leader, this gentleman, is traveling busy but never loses sight of this essential baggage. And then Lao Tzu adds another layer. Though there are beautiful things to be seen, he remains unattached and calm.
Right. So even when faced with temptations, think palaces, feasts, wealth, power, all the beautiful things, the wise leader maintains this inner state, unattached, calm, transcendent.
And the Mawangdui text adds noisy inns.
Yes, which suggests it's not just about resisting pleasant temptations, but also about staying calm amidst chaos, pressure, noise.
Okay.
The leader faces this dual test. Resist the pull of attraction and maintain peace amid the push of chaos.
Okay, so that's the ideal. Resist temptation, stay calm under pressure, always hold on to your core baggage. But then Lao Tzu shifts his focus, right, to the rulers.
He does, and you can almost feel the tone change. There's a sadness, maybe even frustration in his voice when he asks, why should the Lord of 10,000 chariots act lightly in public?
Lord of 10,000 chariots, that immediately signals huge power, massive responsibility, ruler of a major state.
Immense responsibility. So the question, why should, isn't just curiosity, it's pained, it's reproachful. How can someone with that much weight on their shoulders, the fate of millions, treat it all with personal lightness, with frivolity, with restlessness? For Lao Tzu, this isn't just poor judgment, it's a betrayal of duty, a fatal one.
And he's very clear about the outcome. No ambiguity.
None at all. He states it flatly. To be light is to lose one's root. To be restless is to lose one's control. It's a stark, direct warning. Act lightly, lose your foundation. Like a tree ripping out of the ground.
And be restless.
Lose your control, lose your grip. The whole system descends into chaos because the master, the controlling stillness, is gone.
Okay, we've got the literal sense now, the core message. It's powerful stuff. But let's go deeper. Let's put on our thinking caps and really diagnose this disease of the frivolous era that Lao Tzu seems to be describing. We need to unpack the wisdom here.
Let's do it with 3 key questions.
First question, then. What exactly is the relationship between heavy and still and light and restless? It sounds like Lao Tzu is saying heavy and still are just better. But is it that simple? What does the heavy is the root of the light, the still is the lord of the restless truly imply?
That's where we need commentators like Wang Bi, the brilliant Huajian scholar. He gave us this incredible formula. That which does not move enables that which moves. That which is still controls that which is in motion.
Okay, unpack that. That which does not move enables that which moves.
Think of a giant Ferris wheel again. All those cabins swinging around, moving, light, that's that which moves. But what makes it possible? The central axle. It stays still. It doesn't move. Yet it enables all the movement. It controls it.
Ah, okay. So stillness isn't just passive. It's the source of power for controlled movement. The unchanging core governs the change.
Exactly. Stillness isn't inaction. It's the prerequisite for effective, stable action.
But is it about which came first? Like, did the axle have to be there before the cabins could move? Or is it a different kind of relationship?
Great question. And the modern scholar Ken Zhongshu really clarified this. He argued that when Lao Tzu talks about the root, it's not about being chronologically first, like the axle being built before the cabins. It's about functional dominance. It's ontologically superior.
Ontologically superior, meaning?
Meaning it's superior in its very being, in its nature and function. Think of the keystone in a Roman arch.
Okay.
The arch is built up stone by stone. The keystone is often the last stone put in place, so it's not chronologically first, but functionally. It's the master. Its weight, its position, its stillness relative to the forces around it holds the whole thing together. It dominates the structure.
So the heavy and the steady still aren't necessarily older, but they are the essential preconditions. They are the masters in the cosmic order that allow the light and the restless to even exist without falling apart.
Precisely. It's an eternal power structure, a law of how things work.
Wow. Okay, that's a big cosmic principle. How does that translate down to us? To governing or just living?
Commentators brought it right down to earth. Shanggong, back in the Han Dynasty, said it applies to governing the state and governing the self. A ruler who is not heavy lacks dignity, he said. No substance, no real authority. Like, a currency needs gold reserves as its root.
And for the self?
In governing the self, one who is not heavy will lose their spirit. You dissipate your energy, your vitality. Like, bone marrow is the source of the body's strength. You become hollowed out.
And the Zen master Hanshan took it even more inward.
He did. He saw the heavy as our body, our essential nature. The light was all the external stuff, fame, money, possessions, and the tragedy. Forgetting the body to chase after things, destroying your heavy foundation for light, fleeting stuff.
Okay, so we get it. Heavy and still are fundamentally important. But does practicing this mean we have to be rigid, like statues? That doesn't feel very Taoist either.
No, absolutely not rigid.
Yeah.
Professor Fu Perong uses a great metaphor, the tumbler toy.
The one that pops back up.
Exactly. It's got that weight at the bottom. Its upper body can sway lightly, move around, but it always returns to stable. That heavy base guarantees its flexibility and safety. It doesn't prevent movement. It ensures you return to balance. That's heavy is the root of the light. Dynamic stability.
Okay, that helps. What about still is the lord of the restless?
Fu Perong uses another analogy. A boxing match. Think of an experienced boxer. They often maintain a relatively still posture, observing. They use that stillness, that calm center to anticipate and overcome the opponent's restless, frantic movements. True power comes from that calm observation, seeing the whole picture.
So it's not about being frozen, it's about having a stable core from which to act effectively.
Precisely. And Yu added a musical analogy. Laozi adds this heavy, stable bass line to the otherwise ethereal high notes of emptiness and stillness. Without that bass line, the high notes just become flimsy, frivolous. Emptiness needs substance to support it.
And Wang Fuzi warned against complacency too, right?
Yes, he stressed that this stillness isn't about lazy inaction. It's a strategy for better motion. It's about knowing when to stop in order to observe, to understand the situation before plunging ahead restlessly.
Okay, so summing up this first deep dive. Heavy and still aren't just nice ideas. They're a fundamental cosmic law. They are the foundation, the master, the precondition for anything light or restless to exist meaningfully and stably.
Right. It sets the stage. We know why we need steadiness.
But it leaves that big practical question hanging, doesn't it? If we need to be steady, but life requires action, how do we actually do both? How do we carry this essential baggage while still moving? That leads us to our second question. If we need to be steady, can we still act? How should we carry our baggage?
This is where we get into some really subtle practical wisdom. First, let's nail down this baggage. Professor Fu Perong's analogy of his essential backpack is perfect.
The one with keys, wallet, ID?
Exactly. You wouldn't just toss that aside to walk faster, would you? It's not a burden. It's your lifeline. It's your basic security and survival kit for the journey.
So what's in the sage's life-saving backpack then? What are these absolute essentials for the journey of life?
Well, drawing on commentators like Shanggong and Han Shen, it's our inner stillness, our substance, our entire body, mind, and spirit. Han Shen called it our strategic reserve for navigating the perilous path of life and death.
Wow. So when Laozi says traveling all day does not lose sight of his baggage, he means never, ever lose touch with that core. Your principles, your health, your purpose. That's the non-negotiable stuff.
That's your anchor.
Okay, got it. Keep the anchor. But the world wants agility, speed, lightness. How do we reconcile this? How do we move lightly with the heavy anchor?
Suche, the Song Dynasty scholar, nailed it. He said, in movement, one desires lightness, but without ever leaving the baggage.
Okay. So act with agility, but keep the foundation firmly in heart internally.
Precisely. It's about mastering dynamic balance. And the best analogy here really is the tightrope walker.
Right. You mentioned that. Explain how that works.
Think about it. The walker's body needs to be light, flexible, agile. They desire lightness to move, maybe even leap on that thin wire. But What makes that possible?
Long balancing pole.
The heavy balancing pole. That's the baggage they never leave. The pole's heaviness, its stability, is what allows the walker's lightness. If they threw the pole away to be lighter...
They'd fall instantly. Catastrophe.
Exactly. So Laozi isn't saying don't be light. He's saying all effective, agile, successful light action depends on a stable, internal, heavy core. Your principles, your composure, your long-term vision, that's the balancing pole. Trying to be light by ditching it is just foolish. It leads straight down.
That makes so much sense. The heavy pole enables the light dance. But life isn't just about action, is it? It's also how we react to things, temptations, chaos.
Right. What about those beautiful things to be seen? Success, wealth, praise, or the noisy ends, chaos, pressure, difficult situations.
Laozi's answer.
Be unattached and calm. Unattached. Peaceful in yourself, not needing external validation, calm or transcendent, undisturbed, unshaken by the ups and downs. That sounds hard. It requires deep cultivation. Wang Bi gives us another great modern feeling analogy. The non-stick pan.
Okay.
The sage's heart is like that non-stick pan. Life throws all sorts of ingredients in: glory, wealth, chaos, stress. You experience it all, you engage with it all, but none of it sticks. When the cooking's done, the pan is clean, no residue, no emotional baggage sticks to you.
I like that. And Fu Perong had the spiritual thermostat.
Yes. Your inner world maintains a constant calm temperature, regardless of whether the outside world is praising you hot or giving you the cold shoulder. You're not wildly elated by gain, not devastated by loss. Equanimity.
So putting it all together, the ideal isn't some stiff, unmoving figure. It's someone incredibly dynamic.
Absolutely. A master of dynamic balance, like that tightrope dancer with their balancing pole. An anchor with a strong inner core, someone who uses a non-stick pan heart and a spiritual thermostat mind to navigate all the world's noise and glitter, always staying centered, always transcendent.
That's the ideal, the bright side. Powerful stuff. But Laozi doesn't just give us the ideal, does he? He shows us the opposite, the failure.
He does. With that characteristic mix of mercy and ruthlessness, he reveals the dark side. What happens when a leader chucks their baggage overboard, indulges their restlessness? How does that inner lightness, that loss of inner control, ripple outwards and cause whole systems to collapse?
This feels like the most severe warning in the chapter. Which brings us to our third question. How does a leader's inner frivolity lead to political collapse?
Yes, this is Laozi's deep dive into political psychology. And you have to start by hearing that sigh again, that pained question from 2,500 years ago. Why should the Lord of 10,000 chariots act lightly in public?
The sheer weight of it, 10,000 chariots, the fate of millions. How dare you treat that lightly?
Exactly. How could you use your own light, flimsy self to carry something so immense, so heavy? And this question leads straight to that stark verdict. To be light is to lose one's root. To be restless is to lose one's control. This isn't just a warning. It reveals a step-by-step transmission mechanism from inner flaws to outer collapse.
Okay, let's break it down. Step 1. To be light is to lose one's root. What specific roots get severed?
Well, first and foremost, the root of trust. Suche was absolutely spot on here. He said, if the ruler is light, the ministers know he cannot be relied upon.
Makes sense. If the boss seems flaky, unpredictable.
Everyone notices. Subordinates, allies, everyone. They make a cold calculation. This person isn't dependable. And trust. That's the absolute bedrock of any power structure, any organization. Once that root is eaten away by the leader's own lightness, their lack of substance, betrayal, isolation, collapse, it's almost inevitable. The system unravels.
So trust is one root. What else?
There's also the root of culture. You talked about the ripple effect. A leader's character sets the tone. A light, frivolous leader creates a light, frivolous, opportunistic culture throughout the organization or the nation. People lose their sense of stability, their shared purpose. The whole entity loses its moorings.
And there's a deeper, almost personal root, too.
Yes, the root of responsibility. Suche said something profound. The ruler's body bears the weight of the world. A leader's self, their body, isn't just their own private property anymore. It becomes a vessel of responsibility.
So acting lightly is a betrayal of that responsibility.
A fundamental betrayal. Think of a surgeon humming a tune, being casual during a complex operation.
Oh, that's a disturbing image.
Right. Their lightness isn't just unprofessional, it's a betrayal of their identity as a healer. And it's a profound disrespect, almost a violence, towards the life on the table, which is their world at that moment. When a leader governs lightly, flippantly, they've effectively severed that core responsibility to the people and the land they serve. They've cut the root.
Okay, that's losing one's root through lightness. What about the second part? To be restless is to lose one's control. That sounds even more direct, more fatal. And the word for control, or lord here, Jun, has a double meaning.
It does, and this is pure Laozi genius. First, Jin means the internal sovereign, the master of your own mind, your self-control. Henshin called it the true master inside you.
So restlessness dethrones this inner master.
It's exactly. When you're agitated, driven by endless desires, anger, impulses, that calm, controlling true master is overthrown. It's like an internal coup d'etat. Your emotions and whims become the new kings, and you lose self-governance. You're a slave to restlessness.
And the second meaning of Jun.
It's the external sovereignty, the actual position of the ruler, the monarch, the external political authority. So to lose one's control lord literally means to lose one's throne.
Wow. So Lao Tzu isn't just saying, be restless, then you lose your throne. It's deeper.
Much deeper. He sees the internal Jun and the external Jun as fundamentally linked, maybe even the same thing. The moment a leader loses that inner master, that capacity for self-control, they have simultaneously, fundamentally, lost the legitimacy and stability of their external rule.
So political power isn't just about armies.
Not for Lao Tzu. It has this deep psychological moral foundation. When a ruler's mind is in chaos, when they can't control themselves, they've essentially impeached themselves from within. The external throne, no matter how shiny, becomes hollow. It's already collapsing internally.
These are incredibly sharp insights. But sometimes, seeing it play out in a real human story makes it even clearer. A case study, maybe.
Absolutely. And the story of King Louis VI of France is almost a textbook illustration, a tragic one, of Lao Tzu's warning about acting lightly in public.
He inherited this massive, powerful empire, right? That was his baggage.
His heaviest, most precious baggage. An inheritance built over centuries. But how did he treat it? With incredible lightness and restlessness. He saw the state as a playground for his pleasure, not a sacred trust, a heavy responsibility. His whole approach was the exact opposite of Lao Tzu's heaviness and stillness.
And history shows that during those critical final years, France was simmering. Revolt was in the air. But his focus...
Versailles, courtly pleasures, parties, hunting, elaborate ceremonies, that was his beautiful scenery. He was utterly blind, or perhaps willfully blind, to the crisis building just outside the palace gates. Completely detached.
And when people tried to warn him, ministers bringing bad news.
His reaction was pure restlessness, agitation. He dismissed them, exiled them. He just wanted the bad news to go away so he could continue his amusement. He used his royal power to suppress anyone urging him to be heavy, to take things seriously.
So he actively abandoned his baggage.
Completely. The security of the state, the well-being of the people, he tossed it aside for frivolous pleasures. Squandered national wealth on palaces and entertainment while people starved. This profound lightness, this detachment fueled by restlessness, had utterly predictable consequences.
The French Revolution.
He was overthrown, eventually executed by his own people. The monarchy collapsed. His life is just a devastating testament to Lao Tzu's words. To be light is to lose one's root. To be restless is to lose one's control. He lost trust, responsibility, his inner master, and finally, his throne and his life.
A chilling example. Okay, we've seen the diagnosis, the devastating consequences. Now, the crucial part, how do we apply this? How do we bring it back to ourselves and find a practical remedy? We need something we can actually do.
Right. We need a way to practice this steadiness. Let's call it the ballast inspection method.
Okay, I like the sound of that. Ballast inspection. What's the principle?
The principle is simple. Our baggage, our ballast, our core values, long-term goals, key principles needs to stay connected to our actions.
Yeah.
Especially in a world constantly nudging us towards lightness and restlessness, we need a conscious check-in.
So how does it work? Step 1.
Step 1. Define your ballast. Take a few quiet moments sometime this week. Maybe even write them down. What are the 1 to 3 ballast stones that are truly non-negotiable for you? Is it integrity? Family first. Meaningful contribution. Get clear on what your core anchors are. Make them personal.
Okay, define the ballast. Step 2.
Step 2. Initiate a 60-second pre-decision pause. This is crucial. Before you make any significant decision, big work choice, personal commitment, even before hitting send on that angry email or making a difficult call, just stop. Pause for 1 minute.
60 seconds. What happens in that minute?
Step 3. Conduct the inspection. During that pause, ask yourself one clear question. Is the action I'm about to take actually serving my ballast, my core values? Or is it just a light reaction to pressure or a restless response to my own anxiety or impatience?
Ah, okay, so it forces you to check if the action aligns with the defined ballast.
Exactly. The power here isn't about slowing you down just for the sake of it. It's about making sure your actions, even the fast ones, come from that stable, grounded core. It's the modern way to practice what Tzu talked about, desiring lightness in movement without ever leaving the baggage. You're cultivating that still center within dynamic action.
That feels really practical, a concrete way to anchor ourselves. So reflecting on today's deep dive, Lao Tzu has really given us an anchor, hasn't he, for navigating these turbulent times.
He truly has. And a stark warning, too. All that flashy speed, all that vibrant restlessness.
Yeah.
If it loses its heavy root, its still master, it inevitably leads to losing control, to collapse.
It's that ironclad maxim again. The heavy is the root of the light. The still is the lord of the restless. It feels less like advice and more like a law of reality. Physics, philosophy, life.
It really does.
Okay, so we've just explored this fundamental power of heaviness and stillness. Where does Lao Tzu take us next? What does someone who truly embodies this look like, a real master of the Tao?
Well, the very next chapter paints this incredible, almost baffling picture. He says, a truly good traveler leaves no tracks. A truly good locksmith needs no bolts, but the door is impossible to open.
Leaves no tracks, needs no bolts. That sounds mysterious, almost magical. Like they operate with this effortless, invisible security.
It does sound mysterious. But then Lao Tzu pulls back the curtain and reveals the secret behind these masters. And it involves a twist concerning good and evil that might just blow your mind.
Yeah, go on.
He says, okay, a good person teaches a not-so-good person. That makes sense, right? Teacher and student.
Sure, understandable.
But then he flips it. He says the not-so-good person is the raw material for the good person.
Raw material, what does that mean?
He actually calls them resources, capital, precious assets for the good person. And he warns, if you, as a supposedly good or wise person, don't treasure these resources, these so-called bad people, you're going to end up completely lost, no matter how smart you think you are.
Wow. Okay, that is a twist. That raises some pretty provocative questions, doesn't it? Why would bad people be necessary nutrients for good people?
Does the flourishing of good somehow depend on evil? What's going on there?
What kind of profound mechanism is Lao Tzu hinting at here? One that completely flips our usual ideas about good versus evil.
That's exactly what we'll be diving into next time. The Tao Te Ching's radical insight into the mutual arising of good and evil, how the ordinary and the sacred might share the same root.
Definitely something to chew on until then. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious.